Now I'm ready to go to the next topic, which is a very exciting and important voting process, which is underway to determine who will be the Anti-Semite of the year for 2025. That's what we're voting on. And I think we have an obligation to take this very seriously and to make sure we cast our vote in the most constructive manner possible. I don't usually tell people how to vote. I'm not going to tell you which person should be voted for Anti-Semite of 2025, but I am going to give you I'm going to make my case for one of the candidates, maybe even for a second candidate. You may remember the New York Times editorial page in 2020 decided they were going to issue endorsements in the Democratic Party primary for president, but they couldn't decide. There were so many great candidates. They couldn't decide on one. So they co-endorsed Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar, the two female candidates. They co-endorsed them. Had a huge impact. I mean, Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren surged in the polls because of the New York Times editorial endorsement. So I'm going to replicate that strategy. I'm going to give you a dual endorsement. But again, it's not telling you how to vote, but I just think it's so important that the right anti-Semite win Anti-Semite of the year. So this award is being given by some crazy woman who calls herself Stop Anti-Semitism. And basically, this has been a site, it's a Twitter account, I think it's a website, that has spent the last 2 years getting like barishtas fired if they have like a Palestine pin on their, or wear a kippah, or if they post something critical of Israel. It's a cancel culture site that the right loves, that the pro-Israel right loves. Getting people fired for expressing criticism of Israel. I mean, of course, it's America. It's not a free country. You can't criticize Israel. And it's just gotten many, many people fired. That's basically what the site is. But one of the important things they do, one of the many important things they do, and I don't mean they, I mean she. It's just like this crazy woman who calls herself Stop Anti-Semitism. And because of that, a lot of idiots in the media, like Jake Tapper, think it's like some serious organization, like the kind of new ADL, just because she called herself that. Like, hey, I'm going to call myself like stoppedophilia.com. And now I'm going to, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to have like pedophile of the year. I'm going to like just constantly get people fired. And Jake Tapper's going to have me on. You can like, you're the spokesman, you're the founder and CEO of Stop Pedophilia. I mean, I absolutely am, Jake. Thank you for having me on. That's how they treat this person. All she is just a standard Israel fanatic. She just calls herself Stop Anti-Semitism because she had a lot of cancelable tweets under her real name, and so didn't want to do that. So here are the candidates for Anti-Semite of the year. And I see people saying, I bet Glenn is on the list. You know what? I'm not on this list. And I am upset by it. I feel like I've worked for this honor. But this is the irony here. I believe, or it seems like, I'm not sure, but from what I can gather, is that they don't allow Jews to be nominated. They don't allow Jews to earn our spot as Anti-Semite of the Year. And I have to say that a contest that excludes Jews, and maybe not formally excludes Jews, like maybe it's not in the rules, but like effectively excludes Jews, that seems a little anti-Semitic to me. I mean, I feel like I've been more anti-Semitic than like Cynthia Nixon. What has she done to get on that list that makes me not on this list? It's outrageous. So I confess a little bit of bitterness. But I also believe that, and I'm going to register, I think Stop Anti-Semitism might be the Anti-Semite of the Year for 2026 because they don't allow Kiefa, I said, because they don't allow Jews to be on this list. All right. Weighing in at number one, and the original list did have numbers here. I don't know if they meant to suggest who they think they should win, but number one is Tucker Carlson. Number two is Miss Rachel. Number three is Guy Christensen, the young Palestinian activist that we had on our program just about a month ago. Number four is Marsha Cross. And the way they reminded people who Marsha Cross was, they said she was heralded for her superior acting on Melrose Place and Desperate Housewives. So that's number 4. It's Marsha Cross, who previously portrayed Brie Vanderkamp on the ABC hit series Desperate Housewives that was on it, I think in the late Bush years, early Obama years. So congratulations to Marsha Cross, better known as Desperate Housewife v. Vanderkamp. And then you have Bryce Mitchell. I think he's an MMA fighter. Cynthia Nixon, who is an actress who became famous for her role on Sex and the City. Then she ran for president. Who was married to David Mamet? David Mamet is a Jewish playwright. Marsha Cross is married to David Mamet. Miss Rachel is Jewish. Is this true? Miss Rachel is Jewish? Can someone check that? Is Miss Rachel Jewish? Anyway, then you have Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, the co-host of The Young Turks, whose work I do have to say on Israel has become quite good. Stu Peters, who I've seen people saying might be the only legitimate anti-Semite on this list. I don't know enough about Stu Peters one way or the other to say. I'm not denying that. I'm not affirming it. And then Kala Walsh, who I wasn't familiar with. Apparently she's a DSA activist. Thank you for, you know what, maybe we can do a write-in campaign for me. I don't know if that's allowed, just to combat the anti-Semitism of this group. You have Kala Walsh. She's a DSA activist, a young DSA activist. I think she did some pro-Palestinian protesting. For those of you asking why, no, Cenk Uygur is not handsome Sunrise Star. You were good on the Hillary Clinton hair critique, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to object to that. I'm fine with Cenk. I just won't allow that. Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. So the reason why Candace Owens is not on the list is because she won last year. She was the anti-Semite of the year for 2024, and I guess they don't want to have any repeat winners. A lot of people did wonder, hey, Nick Fuentes, why? He seems like an obvious person to put on the list. Why has he not been put on the list? Why was it more important to put Cynthia Nixon or Kala Walsh on the list? And I don't think there's any reason. I think they said Nick Fuentes had been previously nominated, and that's the same reason Hassan Piker wasn't on the list. But I don't know. I feel like someone should be able to be on the list just because they were nominated previously. If they win again, okay, maybe not. In any event, I think this whole list is hilarious. I think people have obviously come to realize that the operational definition of anti-Semitism, the actual meaning it has in our discourse, the effective meaning, is one who vocally criticizes Israel. And so putting people like Tucker Carlson or Guy Christensen or Cenk and Anna on the list when all they've done is express criticism of Israel, discuss for their acts in Gaza, questioning U.S. financing of Israel, never a single word of antagonism or animosity for Jews, just makes this all the clearer what they mean by anti-Semitism. It's what a lot of liberals meant by racism, by racist, when they were screaming racist at all their political opponents. They trivialized that term, they weaponized that term, they overused it, so racist lost its sting. People used to be horrified to be called a racist, and yet Democrats and liberals so overused it that it just became kind of a very banal term of political disagreement, lost all of its meaning, and no one really cares anymore. Anti-Semitism in a lot of ways was even worse. That was really the career destroyer. That was a thing nobody wanted to be called. And yet, with October 7th and with this war in Gaza, they so brazenly and cynically weaponized that term to try and shut down debate over Israel, destroy their reputations and character of people who questioned Israel, like Tucker Carlson. That it is amazing. Pretty much everybody on this list, or at least half of them, have come forward and said, thank you for the honor. Please vote for me. I'm so excited to be on this list. That was unthinkable. Even 5 years ago, it would be absolute career destruction to be called anti-Semite in this public way. Now, I think pretty much any of these people who win, and again, I said maybe there's one or two people who are legitimate on the list. I don't know enough about them to say. So leaving them aside, pretty much anybody who wins will be an excellent recipient of the award because it will do something very important, which is illustrate, for those who don't already see it, that anti-Semitism means nothing other than those who criticize Israel or question U.S. financing of Israel. People have known Tucker Carlson for 30 years. They've seen him on every network, on Fox News. He's one of the most famous, influential, popular journalists in the country. You know, I always say, like, one of the reasons why Democrats couldn't convince people that Trump was Hitler was because people have seen Trump for their whole lives, and they never thought he was Hitler. So he doesn't look like Hitler. It's why people weren't convinced that Zohran Mamdani is some ISIS operative ready to murder them all in their synagogues, because it doesn't seem like that. If you step out of line, the idea that Tucker Carlson is some anti-Semite, some bigot, some hater of Jews is laughable, but it makes sense to these people. So any of these people who win would be very effective winners at illustrating the point that anti-Semitism really means nothing more than criticizing Israel. But the person I really hope wins, and I hope if she does win, she's not too hurt by it, but I think it's for the greater good. I want Ms. Rachel to win so badly. Ms. Rachel would make the best anti-Semite of the year for 2025. I voted for Ms. Rachel. You can vote for 3 people. I voted for Ms. Rachel because Miss Rachel is somebody who hasn't even criticized Israel. She doesn't criticize Israel. She doesn't question U.S. funding of Israel. Miss Rachel's crime, she's like a preschool teacher. She became extremely popular because of her obvious love for and connection to kindergarten and pre-K kids in nursery schools. And as somebody who loves children, she was watching Palestinian children be blown up and orphaned and have their limbs removed by without anesthesia and have their entire families killed. And she committed the crime of feeling empathy for Palestinian children. That's her crime. So if she wins Anti-Semite of the Year, it will show that anti-Semitism, you can now be an anti-Semite. You don't even have to criticize Israel. If you just recognize the humanity of Palestinians, that will make it, I think it would confuse so many people. Miss Rachel has become quite famous. A lot of people with young kids really love her, think she's wonderful. They're going to hear like, hey, Miss Rachel just was named Anti-Semite of the Year of 2025. Who could possibly take anti-Semitism seriously after that? Now, I also voted for Marsha Cross, the actress who portrayed Pre-Vanda Camp on Desperate Housewives, and previously was heralded, as this site said, for her work on Melrose Place, because I also think that would be so funny. This woman who like America knows and was like in their homes, like this part of this like show that suburban America loved, and like which they watched, who they watched as like young people in the 80s and 90s on Melrose Place. Like suddenly she's like Anti-Semite of the Year, and you look at her social media and it's like, what has been done in Gaza is horrible. I really feel sad for the people who are being killed. So she would be a very good winner too, just because the image of who she is combined with the title would be such cognitive dissonance that it would really make people start questioning, like, what is this now going on with this anti-Semitism stuff? And it would just weaken and drain it of all its meaning. And I say that, I always thought it was bad that the term racist was drained of all its meaning by overuse and cynical manipulation by liberals, because that's an important term. There is racism. It's important to describe it. It should have a little bit of a sting to it or a stigma. Same with anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is an actual thing. There are people who are anti-Semites. And that word has been destroyed by the people who ironically vowed to combat the trivialization of those terms. So crowning Ms. Rachel, anti-Semite of 2025, crowning Marsha Cross of Desperate Housewives of Melrose Place, also very good. And then I also voted for Guy Christensen just because I really admire the work he's doing. As a young person, he was expelled from Ohio State because of his advocacy for Palestinians, his criticism of Israel. I think his heart is in the right place. And he's influential among a lot of young people who really admire him. And I know he wants to win. So I voted for him just kind of because I think it's an important credential for him. And again, it is ironic that 10 years ago, if you were called Anti-Semite of the Year, you'd be destroyed in every sector forever. And now I really believe he wants to win. And I think it would help his work to win as well. So those are my 3 votes. I have my fingers crossed for Miss Rachel. I hope she doesn't take it personally or make her sad. I feel like she's the kind of person who might, but I think she realizes by now what that term actually means. She's been called it enough.
Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.